Hello, dear students, and good evening to everyone. Today I am here with the history part of the social science classes for class 8th, and today I am going to provide you the chapter number 9 of history, that is Women, Caste, and Reform Movement. Here I am going to provide you the first part of this video, but before starting this chapter, let us understand some things. Okay, so basically, students, like today, girls are having the freedom of going to school, okay, of going for higher education, as well as they are having the right that, or they are getting married after gaining maturity. There is the practice of widow remarriages, okay, and now girls are having the freedom to live their lives. Earlier, if we will talk about India, okay, before 200 years ago, when there was no colonial rule in India, at that time the situation of women was very different in Indian society. Women had very little freedom. They were confined to their homes only, okay, and most women had virtually no access to education. And there are various social levels that were existing at the time in India, like India was divided on the basis of, or Indian society was divided on the basis of caste system, where some group of people were declared as untouchable, or were considered as untouchables, and they were not allowed to intermingle with the mainstream society. Okay, so in this chapter we are basically going to learn about that what was the social status of the women before the before the colonial era, and we will also see caste discrimination was existing in India. Okay, we will learn about the reform movements that took place in India with the introduction of Western education, as well as when we have started learning about the Western education and the culture or socio-religious changes that Britishers have introduced in India. Okay, so in this chapter we will learn about what was the status of women at that time, how caste system was existing in India, and how people were treated inferiorly just because of their caste. And we will also learn and the efforts of some of the social reformers for changing the Indian societies. Okay, so let us start the chapter. As with the introduction of Western education, as in the previous chapter we have learned about the education only, and how the Britishers have started introducing Western education in India. So, what was the impact of that education? That some of the educated Indians of India started or began to look upon the society critically. They have started looking upon the society, that how is the Indian society different from the Western society or the European culture. Okay, and when they started looking up the society critically, properly, then they realized that there are some difference in Indian society in comparison to the European or the Western society. And they come to know that they started questioning some of the evils that were existing in India at that time, like social status of women. They started questioning that why there is discrimination between male and female in India, why the social status of women is so low in India. Okay, they started discussing about or questioning about the social evils, that why all these child marriages, widowhood, okay, and sati pratha, why all these things are practicing in India at that time, and what is the logic or reason behind this. They also started questioning about the discriminatory practices that were encouraged by caste system. They also started questioning that why there is discrimination in India on the basis of caste system, because they have learned the concept of equality through the Western education. Okay, now what happened after the questioning? What was the result of this? That some of the literate Indians started questioning about the social status of India, and its result was a widespread social reform movement. What is the meaning of reform? The change. Okay, now some of the educationists of India, some of the leaders of India, those who have started looking up the society critically, and they have decided that yes, we are going to finish all these evils from India, and we are going to reform India, we are going to change India. And in that course only, during the 19th and the 20th century, India go through a wide changes in its social structure. Okay, So let us understood first that what types of social levels were existing at that time in India, that we are going to learn. Okay, so if I will talk you about that what was the condition of women in India, or the women of India during 18th century. Okay, in pre-colonial India, how was the Indian females treated? So the social status of women was very low. Okay, their social status, that means their position in society, was very low. They had no major role in their families. Okay, they had no major role in their families. All the major decisions of the particular or any family was taken by the male member only. The major decisions related to the life of the women, that means suppose that I am a woman or I am a lady or female, and at that time if I was there, then all the major decisions regarding my life, okay, will firstly taken by my father, later on by my husband, and again later on by my son. So basically a man was having the sole right over women, and he only takes all the decisions regarding the life of women only. Okay, so the educationists started questioning that why a male is having a right over female. Women did not have the right to inherit their father's property. Today also these things exist, that in the father property only boys or only sons are having their rights. But after the introduction of the Hindu Succession Act 2005, females have also got the inherit or right to inherit the property of father. Earlier it was not like that. Okay, there were also discouraged from attending schools. Okay, so basically girls were also not allowed to attend schools or colleges. Okay, and if their fathers or husbands were liberal means if they wanted that their girls should be taught or their wife should be taught, okay, then they used to taught them at school, at home only. Okay, so it was like that. If some fathers or husbands were liberal, they used to taught the females at home only. Okay, so let us consider this, the main social level that was existing at the time, that girls were not allowed access to education. That means they were not allowed to gain education. Basically they were taught at home if their parents were liberal enough. Okay, they were not allowed to go for higher educations. Usually the girls were married off at a very young age. That means child marriage was existing at that time, and not only at a very young age, but there is a huge gap. As you can see in the picture, there was a huge gap between the bride and the groom. Okay, at a very young age the females or girls were married to a person who is having the double age from the girl. So basically when they just 2 or 6 years old, okay, to the grooms or to the husband or the groom who was much older than them. Okay, it is basically clear that by the time the girl is mature, by the time the girl gained maturity, it is quite obvious if there is a huge gap between the male and the female, those who are going to get married, it is ultimately this thing will happen that the male will die earlier in comparison to the female. And after the death of the husband, the female is considered as widow. Okay, and that widow, there was in some areas of India, there was a culture or there was a provision of sati pratha also. Like after the death of the husband, the bride, his wife has also to died in that same pyre, okay, of his husband. Now there was the culture of polygamy. There are two words, just understood it properly. There was a culture of polygamy. Polygamy is the culture when one male is married to number of females. As you can see in the picture, when one male was having various wives or number of wives, that was known as polygamy. Okay, there was one more culture that is known as polyandry. Okay, polyandry means when only one female or one woman is married to number of men, then that is polyandry. Polyandry, polyandry. Okay, so all these customs were also practiced in India at that time. Sati Pratha was there. Okay, Sati Pratha, what is the meaning of Sati Pratha? So basically in North and Eastern India, during that time, Sati system was followed. And according to this system, a woman was proclaimed to be Sati. Women को सती मान लेते थे, virtuous मान लेते थे, goddess मान लेते थे, if she burnt herself on her husband's funeral pyre. Okay, if she burnt herself on her husband's funeral pyre. Okay, so all these things were existing at the time in India. Widowhood was practiced in India. Widowhood was considered as or regarded inauspicious, अपवित्र मानते थे, ठीक है, अनलकी मानते थे फीमेल्स को, those who were widow, those the females whose husband were died. Basically, they were considered as inauspicious and they were forced to lead a secluded life. As you can see, right hand side there is a picture of a married girl and left hand side there is a picture of a widow girl. Okay, so basically widowhood was practiced in India and it was considered as unlucky or inauspicious, and those widows were considered or secluded from the house life, from the normal life. She was ostracized during weddings and festivals at a bad omen. Okay, and they were considered as to bring unluck or a bad fortune, and they were not allowed to attend marriages or any religious function. Okay, not only this much, dowry was also existing at that time, and today also it is existing because people are sharing it with their happily they are sharing dowry with each other. So basically, what was dowry system? A female who is going to get married to a male, okay, that bride has to bring lots of money in cash and gift items and whatever the groom's family demanded from the bride's family. Okay, the gift or the cash items, that was only considered as dowry. So that also, if the girl's family was not able to pay the dowry, the groom's family used to molest that particular female. Okay, so that is only the condition was existing. The position of female was very low at that time in India, as well as caste system was also there. Now if I will talk you about the caste system, so caste system, as all of you are knowing, that the Indian society was divided or is divided into 4 castes, that is Brahman, Kshatriya, Vaishya and Shudras, and below Shudras there are untouchables. Okay, so basically they were divided into castes, in which the upper 2 castes, that is the Brahman and the Kshatriyas, were considered as the upper caste or the dominant caste, and the lower caste were considered as the subordinate caste. Okay, some people, those who were doing minimal jobs, they were considered as untouchables, and untouchables were not allowed to use public places, like they were not allowed to go to the temples, as well as they were not allowed to use the public well or tank for the purpose of drinking water. Okay, they were not allowed to go to the school with the other students. All these things were existing in India at that time. Okay, and there was a time came during the 19th century when India started moving towards changes. Okay, when the social structure of India also started changes, and how it happens. Okay, so during 19th and 20th century, many of the social and religious issues were initiated and debated by Indian reformers. Those who have tried to reform India, they were only known as reformers. They had put their lot of effort for changing India. Okay, and that is why they were famous as the social or reformers. Okay, so these social reformers like Raja Ram Mohan Roy, Ishwar Chandra Vidyasagar, Dr. Bhim Rao Ambedkar, Mahatma Gandhi, all these were the famous social reformers at the time, those who have tried to change the society, and India go through major changes during 19th and 20th century. They have initiated and debated against all these social and religious customs that were practiced in India at that time. Now, what are the factors that played an important role, that how the Indian people started awareing about to change the system of India at that time? So with the introduction of Western education, as the Western education introduced in India, people learned about the new ideas. Okay, they learned about the new ideas like rationalism. Rationalism means they have developed the logical thinking, that why anything is happening, why we are following, what is the logic behind it. They have started questioning, they have started reasoning. Okay, humanism, that means the quality of humanism. Okay, manavta, that they learned about this thing, about the concept of equality, that everyone is equal. Okay, and individualism, that everyone is having their individual right to live. Okay, everyone came here individually and they are having the right to live their life individually. Okay, so all these were the new thoughts or the new ideas that came to India with the introduction of Western education, as well as at that time the invention of printing press also took place. That invention of printing press helped in the printing of the books, magazines, journals, newspapers, through which these reformers, the social or the religious reformers, social reformers, spread their point of views on the various evils that were existing in India. Okay, they started writing their own point of view in those newspapers, journals, magazines, and they started awareing the local people of India at that time. Okay, so the invention of printing press or the introduction of printing press also played an important role towards the change in India. Okay, initiatives were also taken by the British government and many laws were passed to improve the status of women in India. As when I was explaining you about the revolt of 1857, at that time only I have explained you the Britishers also tried to change the Indian society because they considered India as uncivilized and they tried to change some of the evils that were existing in India at that time. Okay, but at the time only some of the orthodox people of India. Now who are the orthodox people? Orthodox people are the people those who are having the traditional thinking. The Hindi word for orthodox is Rudivadi. Okay, they are having the traditional thinking and they are not willing to change. Okay, so when Britishers started introducing or taken initiative to bring some changes in the social structure of India, those orthodox people started opposing the Britishers that why they are interfering in Indian culture. Okay, so basically they since the Britishers also took initiative and with the effort of the colonial government only, lots of act passed against, like widow remarriages act passed, the age of marriage was increased with the age of consent act, Sharda act. Okay, so all these act were only passed with the effort of colonial government. Initiatives were also taken by the women reformers who fought for the rights of women in India. So there were many social reformers or women reformers in India who fought for their community, who fought for the women. Okay, they fought and they started writing and they started awareing the women of India that they should fight for themselves. Then only they will get the equal status as men in Indian society. So let us understood some of the things or some of the social reformers or women social reformers of India. As you can see, the picture is of Pandita Ramabai. Okay, so Pandita Ramabai was a Sanskrit scholar. Okay, she was a Sanskrit scholar. She felt Hinduism is oppressive against. According to her, Hinduism, that means in Hindu culture, females were considered as inferior. Okay, they were considered inferior than the men, and she also wrote a book about the miserable lives of upper caste Hindu women. She also showed or she also write her thoughts to show that what is the condition of the women in India in the upper caste houses also. Okay, only she fought for against the patriarchy. Okay, she also founded a widows home at Pune. She founded widows home for providing the shelter to the widows, and that widow home was known as Sharda Sadan in Pune. Okay, so this all these were the efforts that were taken by Pandita Ramabai. Not only Pandita Ramabai, one more female was there and she was named as बोल सकते हैं feminist activist was there named Tarabai Shinde. Tarabai Shinde was a feminist activist who protested patriarchy and caste in 19th century India. Now what is the meaning of patriarchy? Patriarchy means India is having the culture in which a male member is only the head of the family. Patriarchy means a family in which the male member is only the head of the family. Okay, so she also, Tarabai Shinde, was against the patriarchy. In patriarchy, females were having no major role in the family decision, and she was also against the caste system. She is known for her published work Stri Purush Tulna. She wrote a beautiful book named Stri Purush Tulna, in which she had shown the difference between the male and female in the Indian society. Okay, this book was originally published in Marathi language in 1882. So this was the work done by the female reformers at the time. The third about which we are going to learn about the Begums of Bhopal. Okay, so there was a reign in Bhopal when the Begums only rule Bhopal for 2 decades at least. Okay, so these are the Begums of Bhopal, and In 19th century colonial India, a time when women were even more entrenched in the prejudices, chauvinism and norms of a male dominated society than they are today. That means that at that time or during the 19th century, the condition of women was very restricted, and at that time also the Begums of Bhopal are inspirational figures who fought against those norms to create their own destiny. Okay, beyond all those discrimination, beyond all those sick mentality also, the Begums of Bhopal, means the princes, the rulers of Bhopal, emerged, and they broke all the discrimination, all the restrictions, and they create their own destiny. Okay, now let us consider the next one, that is Begum Ruqayya Shekhawat Hussain. If we will talk about Begum Ruqayya Shekhawat Hussain, she was also a Muslim lady and a Muslim activist who started schools for Muslim girls in Patna as well as in Calcutta. She believed in education. She tried to provide education to each and every girl, and whatever she was able to do at that time, she opened school in Patna, Calcutta. Okay, and Begum of Bhopal, they have opened school in Aligarh. So basically, Begum Ruqayya Shekhawat believed that education is the most important weapon that can change the status of women in society. So she encouraged girls to get education. She believed that the aim of education was to equip women with means to rebuild the entire world. Okay, now let us move further and learn about first girls' school, and the changes have started taking place now with the effort of lots of social reformers. The first girls' school was established in India in Calcutta. Okay, this girls' school was only for the girls, and no man was allowed within the walls of the institution. Okay, and proper means of transportation was also there, arranged for the girls so that they can easily come to the schools. So first school of India was established in Calcutta. Okay, and it was named as the Hindu Balika Vidyalaya. Hindu Balika Vidyalaya was founded by Sir John Eliot Drinkwater Bethune. He was a mathematician, and he was only credited to found the school named the Hindu Balika Vidyalaya, the only girls college in India at that time. Now, as the first school established in India, now the movement also started taking place against child marriages. That means the reformers also started taking step against the child marriages, because this the concept of child marriage was existing in many parts of India. Okay, basically girls were married at the age of 2 or 3 also, and when they were too young to understand what marriage meant. If what a girl can understand if she is only 2 or 3 years, what is the true concept of marriage, she will not be able to understand. And since they were married at a very younger age, okay, their body was not that mature to bear a baby, and their health got affected also. Okay, so to bear a baby at such a tender, at such a small age. Okay, so many females or many girls died also due to all this, and basically many reformers started taking initiatives for banning the child marriage in India, and in that only social reformers took up the task of putting an end to the practice of child marriage and encourage state legislation on this matter. Basically, some of the reformers of India tried state legislation. That means they wanted a law on the ban of child marriage so that everyone can follow it, and if the ban on child marriage will become an act, that means it become a punishable, that means the people those who will involve in child marriage, they will be punished. Okay, they condemned the practice of child marriage, they were against the practice of child marriage, and they advocated ending child marriage through laws, and they initiated and they went to the colonial government for banning the child marriage in India, and it happened also. In 1860, the marriageable age of girls was raised to 10 years. That means in 1860, the first step was taken, and the age of marriageable, that means at the time, the age on which the girl can be married was raised to 10. The girl below 10 years age were not allowed to get married at that time. In 1891, the Age of Consent Act was passed by the colonial government, okay, and with the effort of Behramji Malabari. He was also a social reformer, and with the effort of him, Age of Consent Act was passed, and by this act, a girl's legally approved age for marriage was raised to 12 years. Okay, and before 12, according to this act, before 12 year, no parent can bound his or her daughter to get married. Okay, next, the act that was passed was the Sharda Act 1929. Okay, this act increased the age of consent to 14 for females and 18 for males. That means after the Sharda Act, the age, this act is very important, and it is also known as Child Marriage Restraint Act. Okay, with this act, the marriageable age for girls has become 14 years, and for male it became 18 years. Later on, the age was still in, after that also it was increased. For girls it became 18 years, and for boys it became 21 years. So this is how they put ban on the child marriage. The next about this we are going to learn is movement against sati pratha. Okay, many traditionalists in India believe that the act of self-immolation, that means the sati pratha, helped a widow and her dead husband attain spiritual salvation. That means it was believed by many orthodox people in India that if a widow, okay, got sati, that means she was also considered as goddess. Okay, this ritual was believed to be an act of purity, self-sacrifice, and the dignity. Okay, now later on we will see that sati was the act of self-immolation of a widow after the death of her husband. Okay, in 1829, with the effort of Lord William Bentinck, the Governor General of India, he passed an act to ban the practice of sati pratha in India, and with the effort of Lord William Bentinck, sati pratha was banned in India. And many social reformers also played an important role in banning sati pratha in India. Now later on we will see the movement against widow remarriages. Okay, now widow remarriage, that means movement against, this will be movement for widow remarriages. It will be, okay, it will be movement for widow remarriages, it will not against. Okay, so now people have also started, or the reformers also started thinking that widowhood, since in India widowhood was considered inauspicious, so they said that after the death of the husband, the females were also allowed to get married in India, and they have started working for the betterment of the widows in India. They were not allowed to remarry, okay, and were ostracized during festivals and wedding as a bad woman. Widows were not treated properly in India, and that is why the Widow Remarriage Act, that means widows were also allowed to remarry, okay, after the death of her husband. With the effort of the then Governor General Lord Dalhousie, they passed the Widow Remarriage Act in 1856, and like this only, with the introduction of this act, widow remarriage with the introduction of this act, widow remarriage was allowed in India, and after the death of the husband, according to the law, there is no need for any widow to follow widowhood. She can easily be married, okay? And in widow remarriages, basically the social reformer Ishwar Chandra Vidyasagar played an important role. In Sati Pratha, Raja Ram Mohan Roy played an important role. In the next video, I will explain you about all these social reformers. We will learn about Raja Ram Mohan Roy, Ishwar Chandra Vidyasagar, Dayanand Saraswati, Swami Vivekanand. Okay, we will learn about Dr. Bhimrao Ambedkar, Mahatma Gandhi, and all these social reformers, and we will learn about this thing, that what was their role in improving or in reforming the Indian society. Okay, so this is the last slide of this video. Please read the book properly and watch the video. You will be able to understand. And if you have any problem, you can ask me through Zoom classes. Thank you, students.